Hello, good evening. Welcome to our front tonight to unravel the mystery surrounding this Chinese lady who has been made the poster child for illegal mining here in Ghana. We will take you to the Ashanti region where it all began for her and tell you her roots, control, and reach within the Ghanaian system, right to the top echelons of this country, so that we can understand why and how this woman appears to be so critical to Ghana's failing, if you like, fight against illegal mining. We also touch base with an eminent former Ashanti regional minister, who was also a former chieftaincy minister and former board chair of the Minerals Commission, Samson Kwaku, who has recently not been with the Minerals Commission, on how to rescue this nation from the claws of illegal miners, which surely should be exploring the security angles later on in this conversation with Dr. Emmanuel Bombande on what the recent level of errors that has been talked about from the very levels that are so important to this country, right on our collective security. But first, we'll be digging into the history pretty soon when we are joined by a former Deputy Ashanti Regional Minister. Let me take you first to appreciate the very thoughts of a man who's hardly heard, but with so much experience, Samson Kwaku, who is Ashanti Regional Minister and a former board chair of the Minerals Commission. Honorable S.K. Boafo, you're welcome to our front. If you can hear me, sir, Honorable S.K. Boafo, you're welcome to our front.
Yes, I'm okay. And how are you?
I am doing very well. I hope you are doing well yourself too.
Yes, I just arrived in.
Oh, that's great to know. Now,
yes.
I will start off this conversation with you because you have so much experience and competence in this area. In fact, your very last publicly known role in government was board chairman of the Minerals Commission. From where you sit, how are we doing with the fight against illegal mining?
Where I sit, because I'm no longer there, so I sit. But to be honest, it's a very difficult issue for all of us as a nation. And we must try to be non-political about this issue. We must be passionate about this issue because the dangers are so enormous. But I believe that people, whatever they are always likely to break the law. But we need to tell them the effects of it. So if you break the law, obviously the law must have its own cost. But talking about the difficulties, as we all know, we know what is happening in our water bodies. We know what has happened or is happening in our forest areas. And I believe that something drastic must be done. But before that, we need as a nation, that's what I feel strongly, as a nation to call a conference, not a party, a whole national issue. It should be on non-political, all political parties must sit down and come to the knowledge of how best we can tackle this. Because every government will come and we may not be able to actually achieve. But if all have consensus, believing that these are aspects, national things that is being destroyed by whoever, other Ghanaian or foreigners, we must tackle this issue headlong.
This conference you talk about, we understand that in 2017, a similar one was called, and not long ago, even the current Minister for Lands and Natural Resources had also engaged chiefs and other people across the country. How different should this conference be? Who are the people who are going to make the difference on this new and renewed fight that this conference will bring on board?
I was at the last conference called by the minister, the current minister, and I believe that other political parties were not present. Only when I talk about it, must be political parties, not NDP conference. It must not be NDC conference. It must be a national. But people like the president must be there. The former president representing NDC must be there. NDC secretariat, all of us must come down as a nation. The chiefs must be there. But we don't just pick people. And those, it's not all those who attended were invited. But it should be a national issue that all of us, irrespective of where you come from, all political, and then we meet. That will help us. And then we tell them these are the rules. And then anyone, if you are to give it up, the way we have to give it that. Because eventually we must mine the resources that we have, but it must be done properly, not illegally. And I believe that in Nadada or somewhere in the US, they used to go with the pickaxes and the rest. But there was proper law. When I went to Perth in Australia, they had proper system. So we can have the same thing here in Africa. And I believe that we can do it. And if we are devoid of, but problem in this country, everything is politicized. Everything. Even if I speak somebody, he used to be MPP. That is not the issue. The issue is that are we Ghanaians? What can help us solve this issue? Because no amount of bookwork, no amount of political rhetoric, it won't work unless we all come and have the vision that this is a dangerous thing for us. And at the same time, it's something that we can benefit the nation. That's what I feel. I feel strongly about it.
I get your feeling about all of this, but the question is, if we bring together all the people, what problem are we seeking to solve? An enforcement problem or a policy problem? A
policy plus enforcement. You see, the policy is all right, but sometimes in Ghana we have good policies, but we don't normally execute them well. For instance, a piece of land belongs to the chief, but the business belongs to the state. That is where the president is holding in trust for the nation. Mm-hmm. And all the minerals, everything. So you go there, even one with the license, you have to see the chief. The chief will tell you, otherwise the people will come and gather that, look, we don't know why you are here. And these are all things that we need to iron them as a nation. The policy is there, yes, but people must be educated. People must be informed their rights. And this is all that. Otherwise, you have to go and see the chief secretly. Why it shouldn't be so? It should be something. If he's entitled to something, you must give it to him. That is all. We can't run away from all these things as our culture demands. So I believe that the policies may be all right, but the way we implement it. For instance, the government brought who dual my time, we had to bring community mining, which is good. It was supposed to be for the community. But go in and see who are the people mining them now. This is the point. Because the MCE is the one that we have to go and see and all that. But if there's a committee, there is a committee, but I don't know whether that way. All right? So eventually, the government will be suffering. I think he's not active. He's doing well, but people on the field. Always, sometimes you blame politicians, but I believe that we need to blame the people all over, not necessarily politicians, but those involved, everybody involved. Then I believe that we also I started with my team at the time to invite this gold cutter. It is our brainwork, so that there will be no mercury used. All this, the government has ordered about 100 or so. I'm told it's another 300 extra. This is one of the reasons why we can solve this issue of going to the river bodies and all that. But how are we implementing them? How many people are able to buy this? The government has bought hundreds of them. And therefore, I believe that these are all some of the things that I want us as a nation to sit down on it and make sure that we can take a policy. And once everybody agrees, then when we are enforcing the law, nobody will go and hide behind somebody. And who are the people behind all these guarantees? This is the second point. Who are the people behind all the guarantees? I think we have the security system. They must be able to tell us who are the people who are behind it. They always say big people, big people. They don't call the names of the big people. Who are the big people? So if there are people who are actually big people, they must be brought up and say SK Boabo is one of them. So that everybody will be, but the excavators that you are buying, who are the people who can afford these excavators? And they are doing it. So please, it's such a passionate thing that all of us as a nation must come out with something. Because no one is prepared to name names if there are people behind it. But if you say SK is doing it, then people, they will go and show me, SK, you have this one here. Why? And then they will, nothing is done. Nothing is done. At the end of the day, people are dying, and our water bodies are big, and the next 10 years or so many people will die. I asked when I was the chairman, I was saying that, look, you people who are mining this fund, you may not even live to to enjoy this money. Because the mercury and all that will kill you slowly. So please, let's avoid it. That is why we went to find solutions by bringing the goat cutter. And people, I don't know what they are still doing it. I don't know. So please, this I want to appeal to use your medium to appeal to all of us, big and old people, come together. No national, no political thing, as a nation. So that otherwise we will lose that the next 10 years. Lots of people will not get any of these gold things or whatever. Now we are developing oil. Oil is even with the advanced oil. There must be a solution. I remember the former Secretary General, the late Ghana, he said something that oil should not be a troublemaking, or I don't know. It should be a blessing. But yet, all oil countries are having problems. Why? It's the way we manage it. So it is with our gold. God has blessed this nation so much that if we are to come without political influences, I think we will get someone.
There is a point that you've made about we going beyond partisan politics on this one. Already, the NDC is accusing government of benefiting from the lady. And so far as we understand, this lady has been operating in this country for a very long time.
That's which lady?
Aisha Huang. Yes, sir. Yes. Honorable S.K. Bravo, the understanding is that Aisha Huang's operations date back to 2007, 2008. And even beyond that point, she's been arrested on different occasions. The only reason the NDC believes she has actually not been jailed is because she is financing politicians, including those in government. How do we deal with the lies of Aisha Huang today?
Look, listen, this is what I said. That if it's political, look, it will completely defeat the whole thing. I don't know the facts the NDC has or the NDC. I don't know. I'm talking as a statesman now. I have to be honest. I'm talking as a statesman, not as a politician, as a belonging to as a statesman, even though I belong to a party. Look, this is what I said. Precisely, NDC, if it were NDC staff, NPP would say, it's NDC people. So if the woman is being financed by, the laws should be brought to check the person. Because I was at the Bar Association conference. I was there as a lawyer myself. I was there, and this issue came up, and the people, President was saying that the laws are there. So the Attorney General should be able to bring out this, whoever is in charge to come so that the law must have it. We don't need the president to tell you this. It is obvious that will happen. But who is enforcing that lady? Who is bringing that lady to court? It's not the president, is it? So whoever is in charge, those people who are in charge, will be able to enforce the law. And when they do it, and then nobody takes it, then you see you can blame whichever. But it's just like recently, let's just make it. Somebody arrested MC, isn't it? Yeah. Somebody arrested MC. The police, and the MC was suspended. The police is doing their work. So I just look at my platform and I saw that there was I don't know, is there an Indian, somebody using siren, pam, 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 pam. And he has been arrested. You see, all these things must be brought to book. So, but as a nation, coming back to the main story, let us avoid this NDC or NPP. Otherwise, you will not achieve what I'm trying to suggest. You see, that's what I'm saying, that we need it, because eventually it may affect the nation's security and everything. So those who are in charge, when the former President Obama said, the institutions must work. The institutions must work. Once the institutions are working, nobody will have any cause to be. There are corruptions everywhere in the world, but the institutions work. As for corruption, humanity will not. It will not, but if it works properly, it will reduce. That's what I think. So whether this Aisha or whoever must be brought to book. I heard the lawyer, my own senior boss, saying defending. He said the woman can engage a lawyer, no problem. Go to court, if the law says you are, then you are jailed or whatever. So, but if you say, every time, sometimes when I go, some people call me, Honorable, can you do something for me? I said, unless protocol. And it's not true. I don't even know protocol. You see, this is what is somebody's behind. There's a big people all above. Who is above? These are all things that the people say. And we believe them. But what is happening is suspicious. So otherwise, I tell you, whoever, I don't know your name, but whatever, your FM or whoever, look, let me tell you, otherwise you keep talking the same thing. The issue must be devoid of politics. Former President Mahama must accept it. President Akufo-Addo must accept it. All political parties, Vice President must accept, all of us. And the Minister of Land and Resources must also be within the law. So that we all do. And then Minerals Commission will be operating their own law that they are giving to them, because we have a good law there. Good law there. I see. So please, I don't know. That is how I can say, because I don't know. We need to. I'm very passionate about it. Former President must be consulted. All those former people must all be consulted and come out, and we all sit down as a nation, not as a political party. But obviously, someone must lead it. Someone must be able to lead it. So that is it. IGP comes in, military people come in, because they use all of them. So and this, all of us will talk, and then that is all. Every time we hear, oh, there's a big man. The excavators have been confiscated or seized. They come out, it's lost. We can't find them. I mean, how can we behave like this with the greatest respect? I'm very passionate about it.
Now, there's a question that many are asking about whether we can trust the extent of implementation or how we have dealt with all of these matters. To some, they have given up hope on the matter because the way we dealt with the Aisha Huang matter, she was deported, she was not deported, we are unsure about it, we are prosecuting her, and she fled the country. Can Ghanaians get hope that there can be change about how this matter has been dealt with going into the future?
If you have no trust, then the nation is doomed. You must at least have trust to do something for the nation. All right, if Aisha was deported, I don't know the fact. I'm being honest. I don't have any clue. If he was deported, where is the Minister of Interior? Have you questioned him? Who is questioning the Minister of Interior? How is Parliament? I was the chief whip in Parliament before. I have been a chief whip for so many years in Parliament before we came to power. And what is Parliament? Parliament has all this right. So we say somebody will bring it. Aisha, you go in public, he wasn't deported. I don't know. Or even if he was deported, why is he in now? And then you are going to blame his immigration and all this. People talk generally. What is the law saying about this? So let us let our laws work. Let us, those of us who are in position, also be responsible. All of us. So, including you who is interviewing us, so that we avoid sensationalism and make sure that what we are doing is the right thing. This is the right thing. So, the human is in country now. Let her have the court or whoever. If there is an offense, if not, then leave her alone. Because we can't go on talking like this and policing the minds and making people get confused. Who is responsible ultimately? Who is responsible? That's my candidate. This is my own responsibility, my opinion, and I know it because I've been in Parliament for years. I've been Minister of State for, and then I've just been one time chairman of the board. So I believe that Ghanaians must come out. I mean, we have good people. We have people who are quiet, people who are good, and they don't want to talk. But if you open up, you see all our debates, every morning show is all politics. When have you really, as a nation, called for a TV show that is non-political? Everything, radio, everything. So people get fed up with it. Let's be honest with that. So that next time somebody is talking, he belongs to this. When they say, no, we don't do that. It won't work. It will never work.
Is there a role, Chief, is there a role that chiefs can play, traditional heads? And also, we have mining districts across the country. How come we can have illegal mining when they are mining districts with supervisors and with people who are being paid to superintend over these periods?
You rightly pointed out we have legal mining. Newmont is mining. A lot of golden, they are doing well. They are all following the law. They are all following the law. And they work in close connection with the Minerals Commission. They follow their rights, and their books are all open for auditing and for checking. So this is what is right. The law is working, so we don't have too much problem. In fact, I remember some time ago, just I want to answer your question, that we were even appealing to these companies to see part of their leases to these people who can work on best practices. They don't work properly. People were invading their premises. People were going by force to go to buy this. It cannot be accepted. It's unacceptable. All right? So the chiefs are our custodians. They are the custodians of the land in this country. I've been a minister of defense, and I know, and I work, in the system, deep system of our chiefs, because where I come from. And the chiefs are people that we can't do away without them. We can't do without them. They are so important. But the way we use them is also not the best, in the sense that even the attack, if a president or another minister goes there or another party goes there, this one is MPP. This is NDC chief. This is MPP chief. Even they attack top people who are for the people are attacking them. I can't believe this. This is a serious. Look, like the Queen died. Look at the way they are doing their. The Queen, from Scotland to this and this. Mention how we go to learn. Sometimes people say you people will like food too much. It is not their culture. You must appreciate all this. What is that? That is wrong with that at Kenya. So the chiefs must be consulted properly. And when we do have a bad consultation, don't go to send drinks to them. And then you come back, Nana, I have a land here. If it's too sincerely, we don't have to go about it. And not just snap and all this sheep and all that. This won't work. That's why I said that. We must absolutely make sure that, I'm a Ashanti man. And as far as I'm concerned, all the Ashanti land belong to the king. We can't do that. So you cannot do anything without his consent. So when we are doing this properly, and we say, Nana, this is where the government is. All those minimums are read. The chiefs haven't attacked them, have they? No, because they are working legal. But these are people who say that they don't have jobs. But you can do the job properly, legally, with the consensus as a policy for the nation, so that whoever government comes to power, the same system will work. This is all I'm asking. This is all I'm asking. Because listen, if next time the NPP is not there, or whoever comes, and then they said, boy, chairman of this, it will be a party man, isn't it? It should be a party. But if the policy is there, we know how to handle it.
I am most grateful for your time this evening. And Samson Kwaku is a former Ashanti Regional Minister. He was also former Chieftaincy Minister. Indeed, he was recently the board chairman of the Minerals Commission, sharing with us the way forward in dealing with the current Galamsey mess, from what's been happening with Aisha Huang straight to what's been. But on Aisha Huang, I did promise you some form of expose on what really she is and where she came to the country and how she actually started all of her engagements with the Republic of Ghana. A former deputy Ashanti regional minister who rarely had dealt and tried to clip her wings is Joseph Yamin. Joseph Yamin, you're welcome to UPfront. Now, if you can unmute, perhaps you would hear me better, Joseph Yamin.
Okay.
Brilliant. I want you to start by letting us in on when you first met Aisha Huang, when she first came into the country, and what has been her dealings in Ghana since then.
Hey, I'm not sure I can be able to tell you exactly when she entered the country, but what I know is that she's been here before the FDC assumed office. I only had an encounter with her when I was Deputy Minister for Ashanti Region. I think in 2014, January 2014. I met her once, and I got to find out that she was the one they called Aisha Huang, even though we had heard of her name within the circles of the illegal mining in Galamsey we are talking about. So I don't know where she ended in, but I know what she's been in this country and been engaging in some activities, mainly within the mining sector. Yes, I had an encounter with her through a Ghanaian. I've forgotten the name, but I don't know whether it's a medical doctor or a PhD holder, but it's a doctor. So when I was a deputy minister, I was in charge of the anti-Galamsey committee. And this doctor came to me and said there was some activities, criminal activities going on within the Manson Kwanta area. And the people are Chinese people. They have covered the activities with mining, even though their main activities borders on the printing of fake currencies, dealing with narcotics, specifically cocaine, then also arms, trading in the arms. And that he was very close getting the leads to their activities, and that when he finally pulls the evidence, he will come back. And so we're interested, we want to get to the bottom of such an information. Then he came back after a week and said he has now gotten hold of all the evidence to come and put before us. And that the next day he will be coming with an informant, a Chinese informant, who would give better and further particulars to the issue. So I assembled the security heads in the region, the BNI, the military, the police, then the immigration as well, and waited for them. And indeed they came. There was a lady with the doctor, and this lady happens to be Aisha Huang that we are talking about. And they brought in some documents indicating where the people were mining on their mining site, even though they are mining. But these activities are their main core man. And so the security had to step in, moving very fast to apprehend these criminals that we have just gotten information about them. So we did an exercise, which was that within the hours of the day from 12 midnight to 4 a.m. A team was dispatched to all the sites that were given. And we apprehended almost about 12, 13 Chinese, only for us to find out that that is the modus operandi of Aisha Huang. That if you didn't come into the country through her connections, if she is not part of your activities, if you don't kowtow to her directives, then she has all the means of getting you into trouble. And at the end, she is the beneficiary. And so when you undertake such an exercise, you end up realizing that all the information that were given to you were false. And before you realize, she will be mining at the site where she led the exercise to undertake. So what we finally got to realize that even though we have apprehended these Chinese, we found out none of them happens to have overlived their stay in the country. We found nothing of fake currencies, nothing, not even the gold that the guys were mining that we found in the residence. 2 apartments were ransacked. So then we realized that that is the plan of Aisha Huang. Then we got to again get that she ordered such an activity, operation from Accra. There was once a national security operation from Accra that never included any of the regional security operatives. Just to go and undertake an exercise, only to find out that, it's a wrong move that they did. 3 or so of these same plans, and were all hatched by a certain lady called Aisha Huang. And so we realized that that was how to move. And in fact, the Chinese who were apprehended gave us all the details that this is how to operate. And to me, I think that it was more criminal, more like a robbery. And so, even though I didn't live to see the execution of the order I gave, that she should be hunted, not her alone, but the doctor who aids her in these criminal activities. Unfortunately, I was relieved of my post a month after that. And so that is how I got to know Aisha Huang and get to know how she operates. It's more criminal than mine.
So the interesting part here is that you are talking about how she operates. She basically acts like an informant for government operatives within the region, or even from the national level, only to benefit from the information which mostly turns out to be untrue. Was she arrested?
Okay.
I'm asking because we've been told she was arrested almost like 3 or 4 times before 2017, and yet on none of those occasions was she prosecuted.
You see, I may not be able to speak to that question, into details. But what I know is that at certain points, some raids were there was some arrests, some tip-offs of activities of Chinese people, and at the end, some of them got themselves cleared. Probably she would be one of them. At this point, she was not, to the best of my knowledge, apprehended on the basis of illegal activities in the mining sector or false information that leads to operations carried out by state agencies only to be found that is not true, and she benefits at the end of it. That was where I instructed that her activities were more criminal and that she should be sorted for, arrested, and dealt with. So when she was first arrested under the MPP administration, somewhere in 2018, some of us thought, and I spoke on this issue. It's not the first time I'm speaking about this issue publicly. Those times I spoke about her activities and said that the national security should go beyond her Galamsey activities, because as far as I am concerned, the BNI should have docket about her. The police should have docket about her and her activities. Well, but interestingly, we were told that she qualifies for a barter trade between Ghana and China on a loan deal, and that the government prefers to get her out of the country rather than prosecuting her going to her activities in the country. So that's where my worry is, that at the point that we finally got her in the mining sector, because when she was arrested based on her activities in the mining sector. But that's where we got her loose. Never left, to the best of our knowledge. Again, in 2018, I'm on record to have said, 3-4 months after the famous order by the senior minister that she was deported. She was back in the country, moving freely, chest out, moving out. I'm on record to have said that the lady is back and mining. But the people that said I'm not surprised the president is saying that he's not very sure whether she was deported or whatever. And I'm also not surprised that Kudo Nkrumah will be now split us on deportation and repatriation. But we in Ashanti region knows very well that if indeed she left, which we have no evidence that she left, she was back in the country within some few months.
Now, you're making this point about she coming back into the country within some few months. To you, and I've read you say this on other platforms, what is the basis for the claim that he actually helped the governing party to mobilize some funds and they are afraid of being exposed by her in this particular instance? If you can hear me, Yamin.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, brilliant. So I was asking, you have said before that Aisha Huang helped the current government, NPP, mobilize funds, and they are afraid she might expose some of them. That's why they treated her with kid gloves previously. What is your basis for making that claim?
Well, I supported the claim with the statement of the senior minister, Yawa Safumafo, that they were reporting her in exchange of a cyanohydro deal. If such was the reason, the president should be aware. It should be a cabinet decision, because the loan is being secured on behalf of the state, and the president is the final authority to that. And so the president cannot tell me he's not aware that that was the decision being taken by the state. But what we know with Aisha Huang is that, and you can go in there, find out, get people to want to talk about it. She's very close to almost all the MPP big wigs in the Ashanti region. She, within the mining sector, classified as somebody that brings in investors. So if you have a mining concession, if you have a site, then you need somebody to come in and partner you or get the land mined. If you get to Aisha Huang, she should be able to get you some Chinese or some people they came as investors to come and mine. And that is how the MPP are benefiting. And within the period the MPP found themselves in opposition, prior to 2016 elections, they mobilized a lot of these Chinese guys who were brought in by the MPP. The regional chairman of the MPP, my own friend, Buntumi, Hanson Mining, happens to be, there was even an issue that he had brought in some Chinese who do not have permits and other stuff, even prior to the 2016 election. So you couldn't have entered this country without passing through Chamaun to me and some MPP bigwigs in the country. So the Chinese were very close associates of the MPP, and Aisha Huang is no friend. She happens to be very close. And there are pictures, with Aisha Huang among some Chinese donors to the MPP, where Baumia was leading the silver collection, or if it's a good collection.
You talked about you getting an informant, and I need to actually bring in Dr. Imano Bombardina. But just before I let you go on that particular point, you talked about you getting an informant to come tell you, a doctor, which means that Aisha Huang knew people in very high places like yourself and could access you. She was very popular during the time of the NDC too, wasn't she?
I wouldn't say she was popular. She's She's very smart. That is how I would put it. She knows how to get to persons. This doctor I'm talking about has no trace within the NDC. I've been a leading figure of NDC. The man never came to me because he was an NDC.
Okay.
He came to me because he's a citizen of this nation and he has chanced upon some information. And that is how he gets her operations.
Give me a second. So, I will certainly come back to you. Give me a second. Dr. Emmanuel Bombande is a man of extraordinary competence in security affairs. Of course, he's a former deputy foreign affairs minister too. Some time back, did some work with the UN as a senior mediation advisor. Now, Dr. Bombande, from nulli prosequi to deportation to re-entry to giving an ID card to being unsure from the president's own mouth and to repatriation, and later on we be told that she fled. Something certainly must be wrong somewhere, but not to the executive president of the country. What's the security implication of what's happened with how we have handled the Aisha Huang case?
Yeah, hello. Good evening, Raymond, and good evening to your viewers. I think I want to address your question. Yeah, hello.
I can hear you, sir. Yeah.
I want to address your question, but I want to absolutely raise the bigger threat. So the security implications that you have narrated is secondary to what I describe as the bigger threat. Let me quickly address that and respond to you.
Very well.
Great. Now, I want your viewers, and you can make reference, to situate this conversation in its proper context. The very first sentence of the foreword to the Ghana National Security Strategy, the foreword is the President of the Republic who provided the foreword and signed it. The very first sentence says that the most important things, I'm quoting, the most important things for a nation are the peace and safety of its people and its territorial integrity. So this is very clear. Then let me quickly quote also paragraph 3, and then I'll move on. Paragraph 3 says the strategy underlines the unique characteristics of the risk and threats confronting Mother Ghana in a world that is constantly undergoing changes in order to deal with numerous emerging security challenges. It is further geared towards strengthening the state's response to current and future threats and enhances our prevention, protection, and response capabilities, and quote. So if you listen to the points I'm extracting from the foreword written by the President of our National Security Strategy, what is our main threat? Our main threat is that our national habitat, the land God blessed us with, is being decimated every day. As we speak, we are not talking about thousands of hectares, like beyond 20,000 of hectares. The current threat that we are confronting is the threat that takes away from future generations any meaningful heritage that we should leave to them. And in that regard, when you talk about our security threats, that is even more compelling. Thirdly, there is an irony in which we want the developed nations to contribute to rejuvenating the planet Earth, to contribute to the climate adaptation strategies. We want climate justice, but our position is weakened by the very fact that what we have already, there is an injustice that we are meting out to our future generations and to our population. So what position do we stand on internationally to argue about climate justice and, for that matter, climate adaptation? I wanted this to be my introduction. And to then say that in this context, if you then look at the question you pose, obviously the contradictions, the inconsistencies, and the statements from the highest gentleman of the land and also the references made by Information Minister and several others. That obviously exposes our incapability in terms of security coordination and in terms of responding to the risk and the threat as I have quoted from the foreword of our national security strategy. But there is a challenge here. We risk increasing the political fragmentation to the extent that what we have done consistently over the years is that when there is an issue of national importance that is a threat, instead of a collective mindset, a conversation that is meaningful, to look at the threat and how together all of us can deal with it, respond to it, and enhance our capabilities, we go into the comfort zone of the politics. And what the politics does is to fragment. And it then takes the argument from the main focus and now trivializes it in terms of the drama. How Aisha Huang was carried out of the court or carried into the court, or how she was arrested. All those things are optics that are secondary to the major threat. And so if we respect the rule of law, the argument should not be about how to treat Aisha Huang. The argument should be, as I speak with you and your viewers listen, how do we halt Galamsey immediately? And once we do that, we learn the lesson from the re-entry of Aisha Huang as a security breach that makes our borders to be vulnerable. And the question then is, how do we enhance that capability, particularly that the threat of terrorism and terrorist attacks are hitting our borders every day? And so I respond to your question, but not that it is not very important, but I put it as secondary to the main threat and to the main risk. Raymond.
Very well. I get your point. We have, in fact, discussed this matter to do with how this is an existential threat of different levels. But where we sit, what can we do differently? Government tells us they are fighting the fight big time. I just spoke to a former minister who says, no, we need to all come together, regardless of the political party you belong to fight it. We need to make sure that those who need to answer questions directly ought to be questioned on immigration and other issues. What else can be done so that we understand that we are together in this fight against illegal mining, first and foremost, and curb the existential threat?
No, thank you. Thank you, Raymond. You have framed it exactly the way I will advocate for the conversation to go. So we need to have a meaningful conversation that is centered around a multi-partisan approach. So that's the starting point. And if you start from that point, you will understand why I doff my hat for people like the Honorable Collins Amwako Mensah, who speaks to the issue and refuses to be caught in the political trap. And so both from the NPP and from the NDC, the existential threat does not choose which of the partisans of these two main parties that now become the subjects of harm. It is all the people of Ghana. Now, a meaningful conversation that brings the collective owns the problem collectively. And once we own the problem collectively, we build a political will. And when we build a political will, it doesn't matter which party you belong to. If you are an influential person and you are aiding and abetting in the devastation of our environment, you will be held accountable not on the basis of your influence, but on the basis of your criminality. But for that to happen, the people of influence are using their political affiliations to get their way out. But that is to satisfy their greed. That is unprecedented. And while satisfying that greed to become very wealthy, they don't even look in the faces of their own children at home and they don't care what future those children inherit. And so I'm happy that on the NPP side and on the NDC side, there are people calling for a collective political will. What does this mean? It becomes a departure from how one party wants to do it and use it as a political mileage. We are dealing with it, and we are dealing with it, and we are dealing with it. But every day, the people of Ghana know that you are not dealing with it. And that is why we must be dispassionate. Now, whether the government in the past was able to deal with it effectively, whether the government of today is dealing with it effectively, that is not the issue. The issue is Ghana is under threat. The most valuable is your natural habitat, what God bless us with. If we destroy that, what do we stand to proclaim to the whole world? And what do we leave as a heritage for our children? And so the start-off point is a meaningful conversation that develops a strategy that is a multi-partisan strategy in which the security corpus can now be enhanced to do their work, knowing that the political will is there and nobody, it doesn't matter your influence, can now rely on political affiliation to continue to abet and to aid and to commit these crimes of atrocities that will hurt us and hurt us big if we don't stop it and stop it now.
Some say the first step is that heads must roll. Those who have brought us this far, those who have failed us, especially in connection with the Aisha Huang case, must actually be made to answer for it, or else nobody will be convinced we will deal with it going forward.
There is a valid point there. Yes, there is a very valid point there in the sense that you cannot talk about accountability without ending impunity. And to that extent, once the evidence is absolutely clear, that now points to the names and the persons who let us down. They must stand aside. In fact, an investigative process becomes meaningful when they stand aside. And if they are exonerated, and if they are not the ones who committed any, what we would call, breaches that allowed this entry and re-entry of Aisha Huang, then they can be exonerated. Why is this important? Because the challenge in this type of a conversation is the generalization.
Okay.
I know there are dedicated, committed security agents fighting to protect our territorial integrity, to protect the people of Ghana. But because of what some security agents have done, everybody then is in the same, if you would call it, bowl. And we need to be able to separate the chaff from the wheat so that we motivate the security personnel who are committed in serving Mother Ghana to even do more and take away from them those who have committed these breaches. But to quickly add, will you do that only to the security agencies or personnel? You must also do it to those who corrupted the security personnel. So if somebody says, because of their influence, they can corrupt a security personnel for these breaches to happen, that person is equally guilty. And the people of Ghana must understand that it's not about individuals. It's about the future of this country and the generations that are not even born and the children that we see every day. And that is why if we try to belabor this and treat it as we have always treated other issues, because people find comfort once you put a partisan political analysis, so that then they will say, oh, you are only saying what you are saying because you are NDC, or you are only saying what you are saying because you are NPP. Then we are losing it. And once we have lost it, we cannot come around and blame anybody. But for this to happen, I'm not running away from leadership. It is the leadership. The buck stops on the decks of the President of the Republic. He must put his foot down. He must take charge. And he must ensure that not only is Galamsey stopped, but the people who have undermined his authority. Keep in mind, he is the commander-in-chief. So he is the boss of all bosses of the security personnel. And if he has been undermined, he must put his foot down and hold all those who undermined him to be held accountable.
I'm grateful to you for this time and this evening's elucidation on this matter. Emmanuel Habuka Bombande, thank you so much. And many thanks to you also who joined this conversation. That's it for Upfront tonight. Enjoy your evening.